Hi, I'm Umu, and this is a story of my very first road bike race. So, in this video, I'm going to tell you everything from the highs, lows, the challenges, and just how I felt throughout this entire experience. The race in question is Velodom Köln, which has been happening in Germany since 1908. It's one of the most historic and oldest races in the country. At the time I was registering for this race, I had just 6 weeks to get ready, and I was mostly spending a lot of time on my bike to get myself ready for short distance triathlon. And so one of the things I was doing was trying to, do some intervals here and there. And I was mostly though focused on building as much mileage on the bike and getting as comfortable as possible, including knowing how to clip in and out without really being scared. I think I was really petrified of the idea of falling and breaking something. So when this race opportunity came to me, I think one of the most exciting part of it was that I was going to get out of my comfort zone. I was really excited to just get out there. But back then I didn't make much research as to what a road race was about. I had just very little tiny experience in that triathlon relay. So by then, I never really have done any race that included riding a bike. And I was also only experienced with running races. So I kind of imagined that it would be the same thing. But little did I know that this time when you're cycling, you you need to be running at a certain speed and be mindful of the people that are behind you, the people that are in front of you, the people that are maybe around you, and those that are just passing and trying to take over, and also what the rules are. So preparing for this race was quite an experience. I think I was mostly focused then on preparing mentally and preparing for strategies and how to do it as safe as possible and not really like how to go as fast as possible. I think that didn't even cross my mind. So when I saw on the website that you had to ride at least 25 meters per hour, and that if you would ride slower than that, you would be disqualified. So I was really scared, and I started then to go on ride rail, try to ride for 27 kilometer an hour average, and try not to go any lower than that. And it was really difficult. The cool thing about doing a road race is that you get to draft, which is not allowed in triathlon, for example. And so drafting is this thing, if you don't know, drafting is when you can ride behind someone, like very, very close to each other. Um, but the flip side of that is that if the person breaks fast and you're not ready, you might crash into them. So this is something I was very worried about. And so my preparations unfortunately didn't include much practicing drafting in a group. So I only practiced with like friends. It would be like 3 people maximum, which was kind of sad. So if you have the chance to practice your drafting, practice clipping in and out and being in different situations with people and other cyclists, I definitely would say go for that. Back to this experience of the race, I think I did a good job of keeping my expectation low. I wanted to just finish. I wanted to do it and do it right. And I wanted to finish and I wanted to not be injured. And that's exactly what happened. So if I think about the race itself, I woke up in the morning and I think I was struggling to have breakfast. I really couldn't eat. I was so nervous. I was so anxious. I think even after the night before, I was just like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not even doing. I mean, do I owe it to someone to do that? I don't have to do anything. I just wake up and stay in bed. But no, the better part of me still said, you know what? Hey, we signed up for this. Let's do it. So, how did I fuel through this race? In general, I don't really like dry food. I don't like this packaged food with like, ugh. I got lucky to find these Dextro gels, and I think they were super, super, super tasty, and they gave me just the right kick. And I also had a handful of candies that I put in like one of my pockets, and it was super easy to access. And up until kilometer 45, I was doing just fine, but then I started to run out of water. And at kilometer 45, they had a stop where I could get some water. So I went off the bike, stopped by, made sure to refill both of my bottles, had some water, and then refilled it again and got back on the road. When it comes to pacing, I didn't have any race strategy. I just kept on going, and I tried to ride not as fast as I could, but I just tried to like keep going as much as I could and as long as I could, and just try not to get dropped, because I sat in a very big group, and all of a sudden there were moments where I was in the loneliest place on earth, which is in between two peloton groups. So at times I would be too slow to be catching up the people at the front, and I'll be a bit too fast in comparison to people who are behind me. And so I was just in that in between space, just waiting for someone to come by and save me. And luckily, at some point when I was super, super, super tired, there was a nice lady who just passed by, and then she kind of like went a bit slower and stood in front of me, and just this that I could come behind her. And I was so happy. I think at that moment I could just have cried, because it was just like such a nice feeling and such an amazing experience. Yeah, I think that was one of the most highlighty moment of the race. Like whenever I felt like a little bit of a connection, because the whole race felt quite quite lonely. And as someone who is not a guy, I did feel a lot of aggressivity. I did feel a lot of tense moment and also behavior. I mean, someone literally pushed me. It was not really comfortable, but I think part of me was focused into the experience and focused on being in the present moment, that I didn't really care that much, because I knew that, you know, there are always going to be some guy who behave like that. And of course, some of those behaviors are not okay, but I'm just trying to focus on the part that I'm having fun. And so, like, when that lady passed me, I think moments like that just like reminded me that, wow, this is really cool and people really care, and you can have an absolute blast while being here. If you're out there and you're not a man, do not let experiences like that or feels like this really make you feel like you cannot get into races, because you have your spot here and we're waiting for you and we want you here. And I think this is also what I'm quite about, that I want people to be able to join in the fun and not feel like something isn't for them because of other people. Like, you're gonna let them just keep you out of this. Honey, not in here. Most challenging thing about this race was the elevation. The elevation was the most awful part of this race. It was horrible. It's 1,275 meters, and I think the first spot we were going a bit in circle, kind of like that, going up. And after every turn, I just felt like, okay, that's it. I'm at the top. And no, it just kept on going and just kept on going and kept on going. And I couldn't. Oh, it was awful. It was really awful. Like in those moments, I was like, why didn't I not train hard enough? And I think this is where, like, a takeaway from this race is that in those moments is when I'm the most motivated to train. In moments like that is when I'm ready to be like, okay, I'm ready to see God. Bring it on. I'm ready to get into the pain cave. I am ready to suffer. I just don't want it to be right now in here. Like I don't know. Sometimes when there's those challenging moments, I really can feel like how I could have improved my training and what I could have done else or better. But for again, the little that I've been doing and just starting from zero, I think it was still a huge achievement and it was still pretty good, and I didn't stop. But yeah, I didn't cry also luckily, but I felt like I was very close. I was very close. It was super hard. So Berlin is so flat. How could I be possibly ready for like this much elevation? I don't know how. I'm sure I would go that I'll try to make time and prepare for all the technicalities and every single detail of racing or like any race course that I will be taking. Atmosphere was also really, really nice. I think I was having a blast whenever we had to go downhill. I am a huge fan of that, and some people think that it's the most dangerous part, but I think that's what I was like living from. It was so amazing. And throughout the course, I had so much fun just like watching nature. I've had very little thoughts, I feel, because I was super concentrated throughout the whole race.
the whole time I was just caring about, am I too close? Am I too far? Am I too this or that? And just being mindful whenever there were people around because I didn't want to bump into anyone. And I think that's like a very fair safety concern. One of the particularities of this race was the section that was on cobbles. And I think that was pretty scary, but I think after suffering so much from the elevation, I just thought, you know what, the worst case that could happen when I get there is that I'm just gonna walk it, just safely pass through. But because I was so concentrated, and because when you're riding, you don't really know where in the map you are and which spot is where and what. I suddenly arrived to a street, and this is when we came back into the city, so closer to the end. There was this little section that was like, I arrived at the start of a street that was going really high up, and there was, I don't know, 100, 200 of cyclists just down, and they were all looking confused. And to be honest, on that moment, I thought maybe there was an accident, maybe something happened. We have to wait for something. But for some reason, I was curious enough that I decided to take my bike and just walk to the side of the pavement and just, I went off the bike and I walked a little because everyone was just standing still. And I saw some guys also on the phone, like calling or something. I think there was many people that were super confused. But once I got to the other corner, 10 meters in the front, I saw that, oh, this is where the cobbles are starting. This is where things is getting real. And so I just jumped on the bike and I was struggling a little bit to clip in. I think I tried in and I was like a bit wobbly also. And I just managed to get on the bike and clip in and just go up. And honestly, before I even knew it, it was over. On the other side, on my right, I could see someone who was just off the bike and just pushing the bike, going like really chill, happy I've done that because I was so scared and I was so surprised. It just kind of hit me. And I was super not ready for, that like big foulet of people. I was scared that I would have to wait with them, lose some time, and then be going up the cobbles with all of those guys. So it was actually a smart move to try to go up as fast and as soon and as early as I could to not have to deal with just having all of these guys next to me and me just getting a bit scared because, yeah, again, sometimes some of these people can make you feel like, oh, haha, this is not, we're like stronger than you, we're like much better than you, look at us go, ha ha ha, you just get there, get back to the back and stuff like that. So honestly, I was really fine about my decision, and I was trying to be just like really tactical, really fast, really smooth about it, and just not really waste time or put myself in any kind of danger. So safety first when you're riding. Even if it's in a race and there's no car passing, there's still a lot of other dangers. There's a lot of things that came into my head when I was crossing the finish line. I think going through all of that, I just didn't really realize what I was doing because I didn't even bring a bike pump back then. And I have no idea what I would have done if I had a flat tire. Up to this day, up to right now, I don't know how to fix a flat tire. So I hope by the time you'll be doing your first road race, you're gonna take care of that. I've seen a couple of people who were on the side of the road changing their tires. God knows how long it took them to do that. I was parking them, and even though I was aware of what was going on with them, I just didn't think about it. And so right after and right as I was crossing the finish line, I was so grateful, and I think all of these thoughts were coming to my head, like, wow, like I think you just learn so much by just doing, and I could really see it here because I was figuring out on my own, wow, there's just a lot that I could have done better. I think I've tried also not to watch too many videos in the past because I was a bit afraid that it would scare me even more. So I wanted to just try it and see how it would go. And yeah, I think there's just so much to learn all the time that it's always just good to like just go out there and experience things, but of course do it with precaution, whatever that looks like for you, right? So I ended the race with a time of 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 28 seconds. I went with 27 slash 36 kilometer per hour. And I think it was, yeah, really great, or I'm super proud. I went slightly faster than I thought I was capable of. If you're thinking about doing a road bike race, I hope this gives you a glimpse of what it's like, and I hope to hear from you in the comments to let me know what your experience is like, was like, or where you're gonna do your next race. Bye!